YIMBY. 4 letters, but with big aims. Build, build, build. Some YIMBYs want to build 10,000 homes. Has the UK got the infrastructure for that? Well, joining me to discuss more on this is Kane Emerson. He wants to build more homes next to you. I'm Kaylem, and this is the Memo. Kane, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast. Appreciate it. Let's just start with the word YIMBY. What does it mean?
It means yes in my backyard. And it's as simple as that. I would like more homes in my neighbourhood.
But what is your neighbourhood?
So at the moment I live in Islington, but I'm kind of an archetype.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 29.
Quite populated in Islington.
It is. And that's kind of the ideal. So Islington's really nice. People want to live there. Why do they want to live there? Well, because it's quite populated. People naturally gravitate towards other people. And that's why existing neighbourhoods are so popular and existing towns are so popular. So I want to build more homes there.
You went to Taplow and you want to build more houses there. I know the area very well. My producer basically lives there. People don't want new homes there. 10,000 homes.
Yeah.
Is that realistic, first of all?
Yeah, it's absolutely realistic. And I think there's like a moral imperative, right? If you look at the housing crisis today in Britain, there are too few homes. So we have a lot of people competing for a very scarce resource. So we need to build more homes, firstly, to meet the needs of people. And where those homes go is a really important question. And Taplow is probably one of the best locations in Britain.
Why?
Well, so you have the Elizabeth line stops there.
Yeah.
So it's got fantastic connections into London. So it's a very nice place to live. Like the house prices are really expensive. The reason why it's really expensive is because it's such a good place to live.
Yeah. And
I would like that opportunity for more people.
So how does it look on paper? Because, you know, shoving 10,000 homes in an already populated place, how does that look? What is it? You need infrastructure.
Yeah, you do need infrastructure. So that's the really important thing. So we need to have new homes where there is infrastructure that will support those new homes. And Taplow's that place. So we have the Elizabeth line. Now, if you ever get off the Taplow station, it's surrounded by fields. You actually have to walk about 20 minutes until you can actually get to like anywhere that's decently populated. So the village itself is absolutely beautiful and should be kept as is. But the fields and the wasteland around the station should be better used because there are hundreds of thousands of people looking for homes, and they're looking for homes that are close to work. So we see this particularly in London. So people naturally pay more to live in Zone 1 than Zone 6 because they appreciate being able to
get
walk
into the
to
city
work.
quickly.
Yeah. And the reason why rent is so high in London versus somewhere like, you know, Paris or Berlin is because unlike Paris or Berlin, we're not building enough homes. So we need to start thinking about that.
Well, the Labour government have pledged to build 1.5 million homes. Yeah. They're not on track yet.
Yeah.
So what can we do? What are they doing wrong? Governments keep saying they're going to build homes, but they're not. What's the problem?
Well, I'm actually very thankful for the Labour Party in their mission to drive 1.5 million new homes. I think that's
but
really
some people
important.
say it's not realistic. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They're already behind.
Yeah, they are a bit behind. I think they would recognise that, and they said it was an ambitious target. I think though that just saying it's ambitious doesn't go far enough. You actually have to achieve it.
And do you think they will?
Do I think they will? They have every possibility, but they really need to get their skates on.
Yeah.
And how they can build more homes is basically by helping densify existing neighbourhoods and by supporting small and medium-sized businesses. So not just relying on the big guys, you know, the volume house builders. They're great. They're good. They're a bit imperfect. So we need to focus on like letting the small guys get more of the housing market. And through competition, that will mean better outcomes for first-time buyers, for renters. So the government should really focus on that.
Are you worried about affordability when it comes to building new homes? Because we see all these skyscrapers going up in London.
Yeah.
Most of us can't afford them.
Yeah.
Who's buying them?
Yeah. Well, I think that's because the situation that we've let ourselves get into, where we've let housing almost become like gold. You know, you often hear this from critics saying housing's now a commodity. It's like, yeah, we've commodified it. Gold is like really expensive because it's rare. You know, there's only a few places in the world that you can mine it. But housing isn't like that. You can build a home anywhere. It's really easy to create. We've just put artificial barriers in our way. So you have the planning system, for example. The planning system doesn't work for young people, ordinary people. It lets, you know, older, wealthier people basically veto any new homes in their area.
But you can understand why someone who's raised their family in a certain area doesn't want 10,000 new homes near them.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. When I went to Taplow, hearing from local people,
They didn't like it.
well, so they didn't like it because they thought the idea of like 10,000 people coming and ruining their beautiful village, which I was never, like, firstly, I was never advocating for. That village is really quite special. I was proposing new homes around the train station. Secondly, once you kind of dove a bit deeper into some of the objections to homes, is that they actually see the need for homes locally because they have families there,
Yeah.
and their kids
They
are
want their
not.
kids local. Yeah.
Yeah, their kids can't buy any flat or house locally because there are no new homes.
Yeah.
And actually, this is a really common problem. So in the 1990s, the most common living situation for someone under the age of 35 is out in their own place. Nowadays, the most common living situation for an 18 to 34-year-old is living with their parents.
Yeah.
So you have 5 million young people living with their parents
And why is that?
because we simply haven't built enough. And
Or
since
prices are too high.
well, and
Salaries are too low.
yeah. So since we haven't built enough, prices have skyrocketed because we've treated it as such a
But in
precious
some
commodity.
areas we have built enough houses and the property prices have just kept going up. Isn't it meant to be you build more houses, property prices go down?
Yeah.
In some areas that isn't happening.
Yeah. Well, we do it on too much of a piecemeal basis. So at the minute, we do kind of like ad hoc, like, you know, a housing project here, a housing project there, when really we need to get new homes across the board in very high cost areas. So there have been research done by the GLA, the London Authority, and they show that for every 1% increase in housing stock in an area, rents go down by 2%.
Yeah.
And you see this in the real world. So if you look at Austin, Texas, Austin had a real big house building drive from 2021, and rents went down by 1/5 in Austin. If you build enough homes, rents do go down.
So take me back to the beginning. What made you get involved in this kind of activism?
Yeah. I'm your average young person. I find the cost of housing way too high. So I grew up in a council house, a very overcrowded one, and we were stuck in that house until the council built a new home. And that's quite intuitive. Like, we were in a bad situation, and the only way we would get out of it is by creating something new, because we were very poor. It's not like we could compete with people in terms of money, but we could like get something that's new. So that's my personal experience of like housing growing up, and it was quite bad. And I know for every year that we spent in that overcrowded house, it was really detrimental, especially to my brothers. You know, it becomes really difficult to study. You don't do well at school. It creates loads of family tension. So it's bad for family dynamics, and that is so common. That's so common across Britain, particularly if you look at places like London, Oxford, Cambridge, Bristol, York. It's a really common phenomenon, and particularly for the poorest. So I think it's a moral mission to build new homes. And then also coming in, like, you know, I went away to university. I was the first person in my family to go to university.
Yeah.
And then I come to the big city. I come to London. I come to London for opportunity, like, you know, so many thousands of young people do. And then you're asked for a deposit of £1,000.
Yeah.
I don't have my family does not have £1,000 that they can lend me.
Yeah.
So I managed to get a really cheap flat in by King's Cross, where I spent £450 a month on the room. That's really, really cheap. But if you're the average young person graduating and moving to London today, the average room rent is nearly £1,000 a month.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, yeah. And I think it's really important that we build more homes so we're not all fighting each other, because that's what's happening at the minute. We're fighting each other. I remember going to my first flat viewing, and it was just like, there's like a dozen of us, and we're all being taken around by one estate agent, and we're all kind of...
CVs, please.
Yeah, CVs, please. And we're all putting on a performance with the current housemates, being like, oh, I'm lovely, pick me. And that only really happens if there's a shortage. It's a seller's market, it's a landlord's market. I don't want it to be a landlord's market. I want renters to be able to choose.
So where did the problem with housing start? Where have we kind of basically fucked up?
Well, so it goes all the way back to the 40s.
Sorry for my foul
language.
No.
Because there's a really fucked situation. It is shit. It's really, really shit.
Hey everybody, I'm Kaylem Shepherd. Thank you very much for watching the podcast. Please just take a second to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure it's available on your podcast app. That can be Spotify, it can be Apple. The Memo with me, Kane Shepherd, wherever you get your podcast. Once again, thank you for watching.
It's shit for young people, it's shit for families, it's shit for poor people. Like, there's no other word for it. Well, there's a lot stronger words for it.
And who's to blame for that?
Well, there's not. It's a structural issue. It's a system-wide issue. So, YIMBYs believe that it's basically the planning system, because if you want to build a home, you have to go through this like bizarre process that takes years and years and years. It takes thousands of pounds, so it makes it really expensive even to like come up with the idea of building a house. And it all kind of goes back to Town and Country Planning Act, where before the Town and Country Planning Act, largely you can build whatever you wanted within certain kind of rules. After the Town and Country Planning Act, you had to go to your local council to ask for permission. At the start, that was kind of fine. It worked. Particularly, it worked because the government were building lots of homes themselves. But it's gotten really bad, particularly in the last few decades, where that system hasn't been able to deal with the change in society. So there are probably like two big changes that have happened in Britain. Firstly, our economic geography has completely changed. So we're almost a new industrial revolution. If you look back at, for example, Middlesbrough in the Victorian era, Middlesbrough in 1800 had a population of a few hundred people. It was a small village, essentially. If you go to 1850, it had a population of tens of thousands of people. And that just naturally grew. There was no like system deciding how that happened. Now our economy has completely shifted. So Middlesbrough existed because of coal. And because it was heavy industry. Now we've moved to a knowledge-based economy. Knowledge requires all of us to be talking to one another, getting into offices. And that geography has shifted. It shifted kind of slightly more to the centre of England than north. So you now have places like Manchester, Bristol, London, Oxford, Cambridge that are the places to go to if you want to grasp the best opportunities and earn the best salary that you want. But our system hasn't adapted to that. And then the second big societal change is that more and more people are just like living by themselves. And that's a good thing. Women are emancipated. When my mum wanted to leave home, she just found the first like bloke she could to marry. So she could leave her small Irish town. And now like lots of young adults live in their own flat if they can afford it. And that's a good thing, but it also means that there's more demand for the few houses that we have.
What's your beef with NIMBYs?
So I would just say this, that there are a lot of reasonable objections. So
are they selfish?
Are they selfish? No. Well, it depends on the motivation. I think particularly since 2010, public services under austerity means that it's become really scarce. It's really hard to get a doctor's appointment. You're competing for your kid to get into the local primary, and there are not enough places. So there's this real mentality that's everything's in shortage because of austerity. So everyone's competing. So they don't want new competitors coming into the local area and then also doing the same things of like, applying for school places or going to the GP. So they're really worried about that. I think that's a very valid concern. And the government really needs to reform public services and make it easier to get a GP appointment, and then people won't be as worried. And then there's this slightly kind of more selfish reasons of not liking outsiders. Like so much of objecting to new homes is wrapped up in language about like, you know, gatekeeping, about wealth, about inequality, wanting my neighborhood to be mine but not yours. I say everyone's welcome. You know, if anyone wants to come to London, I think they should be able to. I think it's really important that young people from across Britain can come to London, start their career. They might, you know, move back home later on, or they might stay, and that's fine. That's up for them to decide. But some people want to gatekeep that.
So, new towns for a new generation, or the next generation. Talk to me about that. That's been something you've been working on.
Yeah, so I've done quite a bit of new towns actually, and the primary motivation is that I want housing to be in the best locations. And I think it's really important for new towns to be in locations where people can get easy access to jobs. I think most people want government, want housing to help their lives as they currently live them. They don't want radically new lives. They don't want government to say, okay, here's a town in the middle of nowhere, you should live there. So a lot of my writing has been focused on, you know, what are the good locations? So there's Taplow, there's Tempsford, which is the quite well-known one. I was quite proud to have written that with Dr. Samuel Hughes. It was one of the first like public proposals for a new town. The government adopted it. It's always good to suggest things to government. Thank you. And Tempsford is such an excellent opportunity because, again, there's like a new railway that's going to be built between Oxford and Cambridge, but there was no thought into, okay, we'll just put a station here and a few hundred people live there. I don't think that's good enough. I think if the British government, if British taxpayers, if people like you and me pay taxes to the government and they're building like huge new infrastructure projects, new train lines, I think they should benefit the most amount of people that they can. So I've suggested new towns in those locations so they can benefit more people.
Can we zone in back on Taplow, for example? As I said, I know the area quite well. I just don't think there's the infrastructure to build 10,000 new homes. We go to the Tesco's, we can hardly get in parking space as it is. There's not enough schools, there's not enough GP surgeries. With new houses, you have to build new infrastructure. Have you accounted for that?
Yeah. So there's like a concept called land value capture. It's basically like we can tax developers. So we can use money that is made in the process of building these new homes to pay for vital infrastructure. So have you ever been to Nine Elms?
I have been to Nine Elms. It's a beautiful area.
Yeah.
My friend Will lives there. Hey, Will.
Hello, Will. Really nice area. How did you get to Nine Elms? Was it the tube?
It was awful. I had to get off at Clapham and then cycle.
Well, you can also get
before the Northern Line.
Yeah, so you can get the Northern Line right to Battersea Power Station. That didn't exist 10 years ago. And it now exists. It costs £1 billion, all paid for by private developers. Because if you build enough new homes and you know take some of the profits from each home, you can use that and put it into other things. So this is actually really common in big towns like Manchester and London, where a lot of new council homes, social homes, are paid for by private development. So if you're building...
And what do they get in return?
The developers?
Yeah.
They basically get permission because a lot of councils think it's unacceptable for them to build unless they contribute some social housing. So if you look at like a scheme in central London, often they would be asked to provide 30% of all the homes that they build for social housing. So you already have like a lot of mechanisms where you use the profits from private development to pay for social goods like council homes.
Kane, we're running out of time here. Obviously, as I said, you want new towns. How long will it take to build, for example, 4 new towns in England? What's the map looking like? It's all good saying it, but what's the period? What's the time period?
They take an awful long time. So, you know, you're kind of looking at decades to fully build out a new town. So it's not like this kind of single silver bullet that will tackle the housing crisis. And I think that's why it's so important to also do densification of existing places. So it's really important to build new homes in London, Bristol, York as well as doing those new towns.
Are there any spaces in London to build new homes?
Oh, loads of spaces.
Where?
Yeah, loads.
I don't want new houses on Clapham Common.
Oh, well, but there are actually loads of space. So if you go to Old Oak Common, have you ever been to Old Oak?
I've heard of it. They want this new HS2.
Yeah, so they're building, and again, it's like the Taplow Tempsford example. The government have put billions of pounds into HS2, and Old Oak Common Station is literally just by industrial estate. You go
Come on,
there.
nobody's heard of it though.
No, well, they haven't heard of it because like no one lives there.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like, it's almost like a wasteland.
Yeah.
It's just like single story sheds, like vape shops, shisha bars. Like it's just like a kind of bizarre place. And the reason why it exists is because it used to be where like all the weapons manufacturing was. But there's no manufacturing there anymore. So I think we should reconsider that by building homes there. So and there are lots of examples like that. And then there's like kind of taking a step back. There's like things that are like really natural and common that people do, like, you know, loft extension, where you add like a story to your house. I think we should be doing much more of that and building new homes as a result. So there's like a really cool scheme in South Tottenham where there was an area that particularly had like loads of large families, and they asked the council for permission to be able to add a story and a half on top. And the council was like, okay, yeah, we'll come up with a planning policy for you. And they did it. And now the neighborhood is much, like the homes are much larger, so families have more room. But you can hardly tell the difference. Yeah.
Well, Kane, thank you very much for joining us on the Memo. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Kaylem.
Thank you. Hey everybody, I'm Kaylem Shepherd. Thank you very much for watching the podcast. Please just take a second to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure it's available on your podcast app. That can be Spotify, it can be Apple. The Memo with me, Kaylem Shepherd, wherever you get your podcast. Once again, thank you for watching.